Welcome to this week's episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in as little as 15 minutes to build your dream business. And now here's your host, the Visibility Whiz, Cindy J.
Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Whiz, and welcome to this episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in 15 minutes or less. Today, our guest is Summer Tannhauser, and she is an online educator and published author who teaches people to build profitable, simple little businesses online using their life experiences and passions. She's worked with hundreds of budding entrepreneurs through her online courses and masterminds, showing them how to leverage the power of relationship-based email marketing to increase sales. And she's appeared in numerous online publications and podcasts, including Inc., Teachable, Badassery, and more. Welcome, Summer. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. Exciting to be here.
Yes, and I'm so excited to talk to you about relationship-based email marketing. Before we start talking about emails, can you share a personal or business challenge that you had to overcome in order to achieve your level of success?
Yeah, definitely. So when I first got started in kind of the online business space where we all are here, trying to find our place and figure out what's going to work for us, what are we going to offer? How are we going to find these people? How are we going to build this audience? There's kind of all the things, and there's so many pieces of tips and advice and different ways of doing it. And, all these people say, I found success this way or this way and this way. And I think it's really challenging when you first start looking at options or you look to build your business and you're thinking, let me do this or let me bite on this one. But then you don't really take the time to sit down and think, okay, wait, which of these fits in with what I actually feel comfortable with and which I like to do. So I'm an introvert myself. So I personally am not one who is like wanting to be jumping on like Facebook Lives all day, every day would not be my cup of tea. Or doing like one-to-one coaching all day, every day would not be my cup of tea. So my biggest challenge was that I had to really kind of sift through the different strategies and think through, what is it that I'm actually good at? What do I actually enjoy doing, right? Because, I think there's something to be said for pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, but I think there's also something to be said towards finding something that you are actually passionate about and you enjoy doing day in and day out. So, yeah, I do Facebook Lives. Yeah, I do things that push me. Yeah, I do one-on-one. I do these things, but it's things that I'm doing to push myself. My bread and butter, I had to figure out for myself that my bread and butter is not that, and so it was really a struggle when you have all these conflicting ideas and really having to hone in on what is it you want to do. So
I love that. Thank you very, very much for sharing. And I know that that's a struggle that so many people have. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Going up to even the email relationship building, the first thing is, and I still read this so many places, email marketing is dead. So what do you have to say to these people that say email marketing is dead?
Yeah. So, it's so funny. I feel like you hear this over and over again. And if you dive in deeper, you realize that these trends, I feel like these things that kind of like the world is falling, the end is near type things, they kind of go in cycles, right? And so for a while, people are like, oh, they're really on email marketing's dead. And then they're like, oh no, the Instagram algorithm changed, it's dead. You know what I mean? And so it goes in cycles is the way I feel. And so sure, if you want to believe that, you know what? You're not going to do good at your email marketing because you believe it's dead, right? So instead, what you can be doing is saying, okay, did something happen? Like, did my reach decrease? Do I need more opens? Do I need more clicks? Do I need more people on my list? Like, instead of going to the end of the world type scenario, like starting to actually look at what is it, like, what's the individual piece that, maybe has taken a hit for you and then figuring out how to fix that. Or if you've never even jumped into email marketing, right, actually like jumping in and giving it a try. But I mean, the statistics don't lie. Still, when it gets down to the data, email marketing is still driving more sales. It's driving more businesses. You know, when people launch, when they do, you know, have a new product, when they bring something out, you know, sure, you're putting it on social media, you're putting it maybe in ads or whatnot. But what's the primary piece that's really driving that? It's the email list, and it's the emails that are going out, and you know, so can't say it's dead.
Right. I love that answer. I always say, if it's dead, how come I get an email almost every day from Macy's, right?
There you go. Right. Look to the big dogs.
So the next question is, what exactly is relationship email marketing?
Right, right. So, you know, when you think about the emails that you get in your inbox, even if you haven't really paid attention to them in the past, you know, I encourage everybody to think about, okay, when you go to your inbox, are there certain emails that you just get drawn into? Are there certain people that when you see their name show up in their inbox, even more importantly, that you're like, oh yeah, of course I'm opening that email, right? It doesn't even really matter what the subject line is because you've built a relationship with that person. They have enough things that they've done in the past. They've written enough good emails in the past. They've connected with you in some way. Maybe they've responded. Maybe you wrote to them and they responded back, right? Something has caused you to say, you know, this is a person who I'm opening their email no matter what. And so when you think about that type of email, that type of person, that's the type of person that we want you to be when you show up in somebody else's inbox. And that's what relationship-based email marketing is about. It's about not just thinking, how can I get the sale? How can I, you know, drive the most traffic? All these things that we do have a spot in email marketing, but it's really about becoming that person that they want to see in their inbox versus saying, oh, you know, you're going to the trash can right away.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Thank you. And next one is, what type of emails should people write? I mean, should they be, you know, some people like have newsletters or e-zines, as some people call them. Some people send out these short little emails. And also I know that there's different, like, for lack of a better word, I guess, clusters of types of emails that that business owners should have and incorporate. So can you explain those and what the difference is?
Yeah, so I think you've always got to be thinking about, you know, what's the goal? What's the goal of the email, or what's the goal of the email sequence? So, you know, there are definitely times when I'm, you know, in my business and I've got a full set of, you know, 10 to 15 emails that I've planned out in advance. They have a specific goal. You know, I'm taking the person from potentially, you know, semi-interested in a topic to, you know, getting some kind of warming up emails to kind of verify their interest, see like what are the people that are clicking on these links, what links are they clicking on, bringing them kind of along. And then, you know, eventually it is towards trying to drive that sale or drive that conversion. And so, you know, that's going to be more of like what's a traditional like launch sequence. And yeah, you know, you're going to plan that out and have that. So that's kind of a one segment. So you've also got the nurturing sequence or the welcome sequence. And that's more so an automated set that you're going to have also planned out, but this is going to automatically go to those people that have just signed up to your list. And you've got a goal to really let them get to know you, get to know your personality, show off some of your best work, let them know how they can work with you, and really kind of set yourself up to become that person that they do want to see in your inbox. But in between that, right, there's also a place for the more kind of off the hook emails where, you know, off the cuff, where you're just writing an email that week because you have a desire to connect with your audience, whether it be to share a story, to share a tip, to just kind of stay top of mind so that when you do have a real, you know, major business goal that you're working towards, that then it doesn't feel like you're just showing up out of nowhere with this email launch sequence and it doesn't feel icky to them. They feel like, oh yeah, you know, we're used to hearing her. We like what she has to say. And ideally they're loving your emails, even though you are selling them something.
Okay, so to start with, somebody builds their list and they go to one of the list builders. There's tons of them out there. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing they should do is think of some sort of the welcome sequence. So how long should the welcome sequence last? Should it be 1 week, 2 weeks? And should they be sending out other emails as they're sending out this sequence?
So I definitely like to keep the welcome sequence as just the welcome sequence for that new person adding in, because then that way you don't have to worry about, let's say you're in the middle of a big sale that you're running a launch sequence for your main list. And then it just feels really weird for someone who has never heard of you before. They suddenly get on your email list and then they're popped into this sale and it's like closing today. And they're like, what is she even talking about? Because they don't know you. They don't trust you. They're not going to buy. So I like to exclude the welcome sequence people from any other emails. So they're only receiving that welcome sequence. Personally, I like to not leave more than about every other day for the welcome sequence emails. That would be my minimum spacing. Sometimes I do every day, right? So I don't like to spread it out too much, because that's the time that person, they're the most engaged they're ever going to be, right? Unless they become one of your like really true diehard fans. They signed up for something because they wanted to hear from you. They're waiting for your name. They're intrigued. And so you've got their attention. And so, really a 5 days right in a row of 5 emails is a great starting point for that.
So you suggest the beginning sequence to be 5 daily emails in a row. And do you offer them anything at all during these 5 sequences?
Yeah. So normally what I try to do is if it's just a welcome sequence and it's not specifically like pointing towards a specific sale, like for example, sometimes I do have certain opt-ins to my list where it's very specific. They've opted in for a certain item, and it really does lend itself specifically to a certain maybe small product or offer that I have. In those cases, I may have it be more of leading towards that sale per se at the end of that sequence. However, my real general welcome sequence is more of a could fit with any opt-in I have, could fit in with anything they're opting into. In that case, more so than leading them to a sale, I'm leading them to find out more about me. So I could be leading them. There's probably a link to like one of my very best blog posts in there somewhere, or a link to where I was like on an interview, right? And I want them to go listen to an interview I did. Basically, my goal is I'm going to ask them to reply back to an email, right? To tell me something, to ask them a question, they give me an answer. My goal is to engage them as much as possible and kind of bring them into my world so they get to know me in as many different facets as they can.
I love that. Thank you very much. And so then you start you have the sequence, and then you have, like you said, maybe weekly or twice a week or bi-weekly, you send them out regular emails. Right. To keep them engaged. But then, the big one is the launch sequences. Mm-hmm. So the launch sequences is whenever you have a product of your own or somebody else's that you're wanting to sell. Mm-hmm. So what type of sequences, can you elaborate on these sequences a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and just to know, this could be a topic all of itself. So this is a very brief overview, but the way I like to think about it, I like to think, where is this person currently in their thought process about this product that I'm going to be offering to them at the end? So I start to think through, what are their hesitations that I know that they have? What are questions I've been asked about this product? Where do I know that they're going to have a holdup? Because, all these things are going through their head, like, why this is not going to work for me. And so I'm going through and I'm thinking in advance, what are these? So I'm going to start sharing emails that I believe are going to in some way address these hesitations. I'm not going to come out and flat out say that, but I'm going to maybe share a case study of somebody that overcame one of these common objections, right? And I'm going to show how that worked. Or maybe I'm going to give a little strategy tip that it shows how to overcome that. It's just a tip I'm providing with them for free. And they're going to say, oh, wow, I can try this. I get results. What else is there, right? I want to know what's behind the curtain. So it's all about leading them from where they are in their knowledge to getting them to a point where they've checked off all those boxes and thinking in their head, okay, my hesitations are out the window and they're at a place where they're really ready to buy. So, it's a lot about the lead up, and then really it's all about these emails leading up to the actual cart open or cart sale, because once the cart is open, really at that point, it's more of them making a decision. So at that point, you switch more from the education and kind of the showing off to the, let me help you make a decision. You've got all these fence sitters, right? And so your goal is to get them to either decide, is this a yes or is this a no? The worst is those people sitting in the middle. And so that's kind of where you're moving them them towards. And, the last day of the sale, I love to have, a minimum of 3 emails go out that day, morning, afternoon, evening. And, the last one, I sometimes only send it to people that have clicked one of the links to visit the sales page. So you can do that. But it really kind of ramps up the anticipation and the intensity at the end.
I love that. Thank you. Such great tips. And I know, email can be, I don't think it's complex. There's just a lot of different little running parts to it.
Yes.
And speaking of that, what are your ideas as far as especially with your regular ongoing emails? Mm-hmm. So you have your launch sequence and you have your welcome sequence, but in between you need to keep people engaged. Otherwise they're going to forget about you. Sure. So with these engagement emails, I guess that's what we can call them. What should they be about and what type of subject lines should you use? Should you use their first name? Should you personalize it? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so a few different things there. I definitely love personalization. It doesn't always have to be dear somebody. It could be even that you're throwing in using personalization, in the middle of the email, you're using their name in a sentence, like you're talking to someone, right? Or different points, you can try putting their first name in the subject line. I wouldn't do it every time. All these tips are things that you might try, but you're not going to want to overdo it, right? Mm-hmm. So what I have found is when I've done A/B split testing a lot on emails, right, of different subject lines, half to one segment, half to another, and then seeing which one wins. Anytime that I feel like I'm leaning towards something that is pushy, like cart closing, buy now or anything like that, those are going to always tank. And that you're going to be leading more towards the one that the A/B test that's going to win is the one where you're sharing something personal. You're sharing something that resonates with that person, and you've got a subject line that matches that as well, that has the intrigue, but also is not just everything that they're used to seeing in their inbox. For some reason, your subject line stands out because it's different or odd or interesting. So if I'm just looking to send an email that has, no real business pushing me forward purpose, it's more to build the relationship or share something small. I always think about, my first thing to think about is, do I have a small personal tidbits, personal life story, just a little thing that happened to me that I can share that. And then here's the key though, I've got to relate it back to why it matters to them, right? So I can't just share my story and be okay, cool, that's what happened to me. It's got to be, okay, here's your takeaway, and actually spell it out. This is the lesson, this is the takeaway, and they're related. How can they use that in their own lives or their own businesses or whatever they've got going on? So if I'm lost, that's what I always go back to, some kind of personal snippet story, and then tying it into their lives.
And tied into your subject, I know my highest open rate ever was he tried sharpening his finger with a pencil sharpener. And my 8-year-old that was my subject line. He sharpening his finger with a pencil sharpener. Yeah, because my 8-year-old grandson, I guess he's seen something on a cartoon or something where the people had this pointy finger. So he wanted a pointy finger, so he tried sharpening his finger with a pencil sharpener. And I told him, I said, honey, maybe next time you have this bright idea, you should ask your mom and dad how bright it is. But I turned that into business. How many times do we have this bright idea and then we just jump with it without really thinking it through or asking our colleagues and our mentors and our coaches really if it's a good idea or not.
Love that. Totally. I bet that got great response.
It really did. And it was it just, how often does something like that happen? But I know too, just recently, I had told one of my clients she was trained this way. So the beginning of every single subject line would have brackets, and I'm sure you've seen this, that says newsletter.
Oh no.
Freebie or something else. And I'm like, take those out. And she was shocked at the difference with her open rate. And so, again, with subject lines, they are so important. So do you have any little tips and trips on how somebody can even create a subject line that does entice the open?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different like formulas or different ways you can do it, but something that's really easy that will fit into almost any type of this like kind of nurturing email that we're talking about is 3 things in a row. So you can think through your email and think through what are like 3 items out of the email. So like yours, you're talking about a pencil sharpener. Maybe it would have been like, pencil sharpeners, grandsons and, big ahas or, whatever it is. So it's like you're listing 3 things where 2 of them are kind of like, oh, I'm thinking, I'm not really sure how that's going to relate. And then the third one is more so like the actual like takeaway or lesson from the email. So like the big aha or whatnot. But you can do that for almost any email. And it's going to be that 3 in a row is really intriguing to people, especially when you can get 1 or 2 of the things that are kind of like an oddball item that you're not really like, not sure what that's going to be about.
Mm-hmm. And so why do you believe those type of emails, something that's enticing or the 3 things? I've never heard that and I like that.
Yeah.
I've seen them, but it's never connected in my head until you just said it.
Yeah. Love it.
That is that a lot of people, they want to say 3 tips to grow your Facebook page. So why do just listing the 3 things work better than the 3 tips to grow your Facebook page?
I think there's a place for both, right? So I mean, like, 3 tips to grow your Facebook page. If you know that your audience that's what they want to know about, right? So if you've got somebody that's like highly engaged, maybe they opted in specifically for like, strategies on building your Facebook page. And then like, if you send them an email that says 3 tips to build your Facebook page, like that's going to be a great open rate. It's probably going to be a better open rate than those 3 items listed in a row that I just suggested to you. But the key there is that that that's what they want to know. So you can be really direct with those type of people. What I'm talking about is more so, you've got this whole list and you've got these people that, maybe this person, they wanted to learn about this and this one wanted to learn about this. And the problem is that, when 95% of them maybe listen to 3 tips to grow your Facebook page, they're like, oh, well, that's not what I'm working on right now. So I'm just going to chuck that. And they don't even give it a chance. So by sharing a story and by giving an intriguing subject line, at least then you got them to open it and you've got your email has a chance to convince them that this is important, right?
Right. And the length of your subject line, how long should it be?
I like to think mobile. So, I don't think there's any specific rule about the length, but what I always do is I send a test email to myself. I take a look at it on my mobile phone, like I'm looking at it in my email on my phone, and I say, okay, can I see enough that I get an understanding and that's going to intrigue me based on what I can see on my phone versus looking at it on my laptop. So that's kind of my rule of thumb there. Then, anytime you get super long, that's going to drop off. So that's my rule. It's easy. You check it on your phone and then you're like, do I feel good about this or not?
Love that. Thank you. And also, how can you 10 times the effectiveness of your email?
Yeah. So there's all sorts of strategies, right? All sorts of strategies you can do. But what I like to think through is I like to think, what is my goal for this email and how can I make it as easy as possible for the person that's receiving it to take action on that goal. So if my goal is to get people over to this podcast episode and leave a review, then I'm not going to talk about my products. I'm not going to try to sell them on something. I'm not going to do anything else. My full email is the goal to get them to that podcast episode and leave a review. So can I give them a direct link to the reviews page? Can I give them even like a few sentences of swipe copy that they could take, like a sentence starter, and then can they continue writing their review after that sentence started to get them going? Like, what can I do? Can I incentivize it? If I really need reviews, can I have a giveaway that you take a screenshot of your review, you send it to me, and I'm going to pull out someone out of a hat, and they're going to get a free coaching call with me? Like, what is the goal of that email? And you're doing everything you can to think about this person, they received it on their phone. What can I do to get them to actually do that action? And so if you focus everything on that, and having that one thing, right? One thing in your email, one action, one goal, then you're going to get so much better results.
Great tips and strategies. I could talk to you all day about email.
Yeah.
But Summer, can you please share a strategy that our listeners can implement in 15 minutes or less to build their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I love to do is, so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Oh man, I haven't emailed my list forever. I've fallen off kind of the face of the earth. Then I need to get this relationship back up so that I'm in a place where I can actually, offer them things and sell them things." Because I know that that's an easy trap to fall into. What I encourage you to do is to send out an email to your list this week, next week, right? And where you're simply sharing 5 items or 5 tips or 5 things that you found interesting, intriguing, whatever it was in your own life that relate to your business, that relate to, your productivity, that relate to whatever it is that you've got going on that your audience is kind of, relating to. Share those 5 things with them, right? This isn't a goal to get sales or to get people to your website. It's a goal to build that relationship, to get them back knowing you. So include as many links as you need to, right? Link out to what's important to provide, maybe throw in a picture or, one of those animated GIFs, to amp up the energy, whatever it is you need to do. And just share 5 things that you found worth sharing from that week that brought you joy, that brought you excitement and you were interested in. Share it with them. See what responses you get, see what resonates with them, and then keep going with that. It's a simple email to write. You can absolutely write that in 15 minutes if they're truly things that, you were excited about that week yourself.
I love that. Thank you very, very much. Great, great, great strategy. And Summer, I know that you have a wonderful, wonderful gift for our listeners. Can you share what it is?
Absolutely. It's called the Earn It with Email Starter Kit. And so I go through basically step by step all the different things you could be, no matter if you're looking for subject lines. I've got 34, plug and play subject lines. I've got a bunch of ideas for what your emails could be about. So all sorts of different things you could write about. It's just step by step what to even do if you've stopped engaging with your list and how to, get them back on the train and get them, engaging with you again. So it really takes you through any email strategy problem you might have and gives you options there and ideas to get started on it again.
It's a wonderful gift. So many great tips on how to create your emails and really start a relationship marketing with your emails, because that's what the emails are there for. So you want to head on over to bizsuccessin15.com/summer, all lowercase, SUMMER. So bizsuccessin15.com/summer, and grab your free Earn It with Email Starter Kit now. And Summer, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
My biggest thing would be to just get that first email written or your next email written. You wouldn't believe how many people are listening, are following along, that maybe you've never heard of, that have never emailed you back, that have never said anything to you, but they are reading, they are taking it in, and they're just waiting for the right moment, either to reach out or to buy your product or to do whatever it is that you're hoping that they eventually do. But they're building that relationship, even if you don't know it in the background. So just keep going, and they're doing their work on their part by reading what you're writing.
Thank you very much. I love that. And Summer, it's been fantastic having you as my guest today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, feel free to share it with your friends. All your colleagues. Email relationship marketing is so, so important. And it's really one of the best ways that you have your clients' undivided attention. So share it with your friends and hop on over to bizsuccessin15.com/summer. And you'll find any links mentioned on today's show. You can re-listen to Summer's words of wisdom. Catch up on past episodes from other experts that you might have missed. And while you're there, be sure to grab your copy of Earn It with Email Starter Kit. And with that, big hugs, and be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Biz Success in 15 with another awesome guest. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Biz Success in 15. For all links mentioned in today's show and to watch or listen to previous episodes, visit bizsuccessin15.com. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for another amazing guest.